Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan. Basically, today we are going to talk about the topic that is formula, that is basically the 67th part. Basically, you can say. So here, basically, we have already talked basically related to formula word, lots of parts basically. This is basically 67th part. Basically, you can say. And 67th part basically we will discuss going to discuss about the few we have, which basically we will just summarize the which we have discussed about the sales basically. We have already discussed the GDP basically, what GDP is. We have already discussed the subscription plan basically, how basically the subscription plan connects with the sales basically. We have already discussed the GDP, that is basically that is also connected with the sales basically. And then basically we have the school example basically, you can say the school basically lab basically, R&D lab basically. Then basically we have saw that if school is lab is up to that level, then basically the whole country basically have containing many labs basically in the countries, in the companies. And basically there are many basically R&D departments basically created by the private people basically. And like for that basically government keeps their activation. So basically these all are basically sales, you can say, the keeping the value basically, you can say, of the product basically, you can say. So government is one product basically, you can consider this as a product basically. Government is selling their product and keeping their value basically. So like this basically we have discussed lots of things about the sales basically, which where basically governments only starts with the stuff basically, we can say. So now basically we are going to see a little bit more about the sales basically. That is basically one person basically asked me a question basically when I was giving the interview for Dubai country. That time basically he asked me basically what is actually sales. So this basically, or that this basically what videos is basically for that person only who basically asked me for what actually the sales is. So here basically we are going to discuss little bit more about the formula word, that is basically software industry. And this connects with the sales industry basically. And sales industry basically by default connects with the software industry also. So here basically in sales basically we are discussing one more part basically, that is a medical industry basically, you can say. Medical industry means basically, you can say, I will take one example that will clear lots of things basically. This is basically equal to definition only. But when basically there are many people basically who say that we want the exact definition, we can't we don't want to want any example like this basically, they rejects the people. But basically in this video basically you will see and you will say that the example basically which basically I'm as per the example basically which I am telling you, that basically change the entire sales definition only basically. That is going to change the entire definition of the sales of the book basically, you can say. So basically you have never heard about this school data na? That is basically R&D departments where basically each and every books have basically their formulas, and there basically government also adds their formula. This basically nobody has heard basically, you can say. Basically in school basically the teacher only says that yeah, this is the only formula, but that basically does not contains the government data basically. So government always keeps their secrets. So basically here the definition is already totally changed basically. So as per the examples, basically I will take the definition totally is going to change basically, you can say. So basically you have to create few new definitions also basically. The book's definition is of the sales basically of the MBA of the IITs basically. Um, there basically also sales is there basically. Sales of the technology, sales of the systems basically, you can say that everything is going to change basically. So here basically I'm taking one example of the medical industry, that is basically medicine, doctors, hospitals, everything. So basically one person basically went to the hospital, and then basically he told that I have some weakness, I am not feeling well, and like this basically lots of things told by the person basically. Then basically he the doctors given some medicine to him, and then basically he got little bit fine basically. His health was basically a little bit getting improved. Then basically again he was feeling well. he was not feeling well. Then basically again he went. Then basically 2 to 3 times basically he went to doctor. Then doctor told them that that person that you have, I think your blood need to check basically. Then basically checked his blood, his urine basically. Then basically lots of things is checked. Then basically he came to conclusion that basically some bad energy has connected your body basically. Like this basically he treated the data according given the medicine according to the blood cells and the negative energy which has passed basically. There basically how basically doctor came into conclusion and how basically the blood cells industry basically came into conclusion that here basically the medicine basically is required for this particular blood cells basically. How they came into conclusion basically. So I will take one example. Basically, for example, there is one text box. Mm, Text box equal to 1,000 cities. That example basically I always give. So that text box equal to 1,000 cities. Basically, if I say that text box is equal to one blood cells, then basically it would be correct. Yeah. So this is not medical word basically, but this is a normal basically example basically I'm giving because I am not a medical student, so I am just a normal software professional basically. And then so according to that basically I'm giving the example basically. So example is like this basically text box equal to blood cells. If I say this, that would be 100% correct. Reason nowadays basically each and every cities are getting converted to human and human needs energy, and when that human needs energy enters into the bodies, that basically converts into blood cells. So basically if I say Vadodara is one city which connects with the text box also. So one of the city of the 1,000 which that is connecting with the text box. Then basically Vadodara blood cells is also exist. Reason basically whenever the blood of Baroda energy gets converts to the human needs basically in the text box basically. So when the text box gets converted into the human needs basically, in that basically few human needs basically got generated from the Vadodara city basically. So from Vadodara energy basically you can say. So here basically the human needs is used by the many peoples basically you can say. So when basically it was used, that basically converted into blood cells. So basically like this basically assume that the negative energy which the person was tracked from the blood cells, that time basically that was basically from the text box area basically you can say. From the text box area from the certain cities, the data which was collected by the blood cells industry, not live data basically because the live data it doesn't allow by the industry basically we can say. So the data was collected by the blood cells industry basically, and then basically that conclusion came into picture that this text box was having some negative energy and that the text box was basically having nice energy and good energy, but the person basically who had that energy, that he had that human needs basically the foods basically or say vegetables we had, that basically was having some and was not affecting his body basically. So his was not getting able his body was not able to absorb that text box equal to blood cells basically. So text box equal to human needs which was created basically, that was vegetables, fruits, or whatever thing, human needs basically. So his body was not able to take that basically. So for that, and he was basically um, very rich person also, that also you can say. Here basically I am taking one example where basically person is rich basically. Like they say like this basically his body blood cells was scanned, and like this the doctor came into conclusion, and like this the example was text box equal to cities, and in these cities basically one negative energy has affected that person. And here basically the text box is equal to 1,000 cities, and 1,000 cities diagram, that is basically algorithm, basically have drawn by the construction industry, and then basically it has converted to energy industry. So basically there are one diagram is with the construction industry, second diagram is with the energy industry, third diagram is with the power industry, that is basically of 1,000 cities energy. How basically they have drawn the diagram basically you can say. Like this they have the power company have the energy diagram basically, and then basically have the when the energy basically converts to the human needs. So human needs diagram basically, from the each and every city basically, how many human needs has been created. That diagram basically one industry have, that is basically food industry basically you can say. And then basically blood cells industry have this diagram basically, which has the human needs has observed by the human basically, and that basically human needs has converted to the blood cells. So each and every diagram, each and every algorithm, basically each and every industry have, and according to that basically the blood cells was having error, that was tracked by the blood cell industry, and the doctor has tracked that. And according to the each and every algorithm which was prepared by the each and every industry, according to that negative energy is going to affect to the certain person. So that data is already prepared, that is basically medicine, and the medicine is already prepared by the doctor, by the medicine industry, world medicine in company basically we can give the name. And like this basically each and every medicine was given to that person, and like this basically um, his body was getting normal. Reason that medicine was taken by that, the medicine basically came into conclusion according to the algorithm of the blood cells, and the negative energy basically which was passed, and that was tracked by the blood cells industry, and according to that basically the medicine was given basically. Like this basically each and every medicine was given, and then basically that person basically came into normal. And then here basically what we have see here, we saw that the text box has basically converted into sales industry, that basically big sales industry. We also how many algorithm moved to more than 4 to 5, 5 to 6 basically algorithm was basically came into conclusion. So basically this 5 to 6 algorithm basically, that basically has converted into sales basically, that basically contains into sales industry basically, power sales industry, then basically energy sales industry, food sales industry, then basically medicine sales industry, and then like this basically many blood cells industry basically, medicine industry, medicine sales industry. Like this basically many sales industry has connected in from this just one text box equal to 1,000 cities, and then that 1,000 city has been drawn to one diagram basically, that is basically algorithm. So just to see basically how this sales has connected now basically. So just see basically how the sales has connected. And like this basically this is also one of the small part of the sales industry, because from these all are the base of the sales industry, from where the sales starts basically. Subscription basically is the base basically, you can say that which type of subscription is government is taking. According to that basically the entire city's algorithm, entire city's energies algorithm is getting prepared according to the data passed by the World Bank basically, you can say. Like this basically this is a little bit about the sales and the formula. And this is basically 67th part, and in 68th part we are going to discuss a little bit more about the sales, GDP, and then basically formula. By default basically we are seeing and the attributes of the each and every formula.